everyone. I'm Crystal.
I'm Kristen.
And this is Damsels After Dark, a show where we, your favorite damsels, deep dive into a book each week from cover to cover.
Every episode, we will discuss a few chapters, giving a complete walkthrough while we rant, obsess, analyze all of it.
This week, we are still covering the fanfiction Manacled, and we are covering Flashback chapters 11 through 15. This book is free to download, and there'll be a link in the description below.
This episode will contain spoilers, so if you don't want this book's secrets revealed to you, please come back and join us when you're ready.
Without further ado,
let's jump into it.
So finally, we're back to regular fall weather.
Thank God.
I know. It was so bad. And so, what was it? The episode before last, we were talking about how we were going to match with our sweaters. Mm-hmm. And little did we know that we actually 100%
match. Yeah.
Like, it's hard to see on camera, but we have like beading and ruching
and it's like, we talked about, we had a beaded sweater, but we didn't know it was going to be like very similar.
Yeah.
Super similar. Almost like, it looks exactly the same, except yours has got just a little bit more of a different design.
Yeah, but we matched.
Cute.
Yeah, we look so cute. I showed up today. I was like, we nailed it today.
We did. And by the way, your scarf is so freaking cute.
Thank you.
I can't believe it. Like the quality of it for the amount of price was is just great.
$10 at Target. Yeah. If they're still there, they're in the Halloween aisle.
Yeah, if I go back, because I plan on going back this weekend, I might get a Ravenclaw one.
Yeah, it's cute. It's nice and comfy too.
Yeah, I love it.
This was what we were supposed to wear last time, but
80
texted
degrees?
you. I was like, I ain't wearing this in 80 degrees.
No.
Not in the studio where we can't even breathe. No.
Sweating.
Yeah, I was still sweating in this though, running around the house, like, packing everything before I left. Like, I just need it to be like snowing outside and then I'll be fine. I could be running around in a sweater, but I'll accept this weather.
Yeah, it's a little bit better. I mean, actually a lot of better, but
it's been like very foggy too in the mornings and the leaves are changing. It's just like my fall autumn heart is really a flutter.
Perfect and cozy.
Yeah.
It's great. I love it. It makes me feel like I could finally sit down and read without sweating my nuts off.
Yeah. I get that, like, reading in the summer in the sun, but to me it's always, I want it to be raining outside.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear the pouring rain. I want to be in the fog with my hot coffee reading. Like, that to me is the reading world.
Yes. And like, I prefer specifically in the evening too.
Yes.
Right before bedtime, it's the best time to read, in my opinion. Like, I do kind of doze off sometimes and end up reading a chapter or two, but I mean, I love it. And right now, I think we're reading the perfect book for the time.
Yes.
Like, obviously, of course, Manacled too, but we're reading an additional book in unison. And I think it's a great book for the season.
Yeah, it is a really good one. From Blood and Ash.
Yeah, Jennifer, I don't remember her last name. I believe it's Jennifer.
Yeah, I think her first name's Jennifer. It's pretty good. Yeah. I'm halfway through the first one, I think. I had a rough week in general, so I didn't get very far this week. I kept falling asleep because it is a little slow in some parts, and
it is.
I also like reading in the pitch black because I just want to be in the world. I don't want distractions. I don't want to see the real world in my view. I want it to
agree.
be all black.
Lights off, Kindle in hand. Sometimes I will have the book, but it's like I need a book light or a very like faint desk lamp in the background just to be able to read. Because like, I agree with you. I love being able to zone everything out, almost like it's a movie theater for your mind.
Yes,
which is great.
Everything needs to be black. I don't want to see you. I just want my book and my people.
It sucks because when you do get in that world and you're completely zoned in and tranced in it, and someone talks to you, you're like, what?
Yeah, go away. Yeah. It's my reading time.
You totally interrupted when Hawk was talking to Bobby.
Yeah. It's funny because I tried to read at the movie theater because I went to the Eras concert movie theater yesterday. I was trying to read and it was still a little dark, but I'm like, I can't. I got to a part where I'm like, I can't have this conversation with Hawk right now. I can't. I need to save this for another time. I'm not in the mood. Like, I'm not in the area to fully absorb all of this stuff.
Yes. Oh, I can't wait till you get more into the book because Hawk is woo. I mean, we all discuss it every book review, like book series review, but yeah, he's definitely in my top 5 somewhere, which we'll discuss later down the road.
Yeah, I think we'll have to do this one for a book series review. It's really good.
It is.
So far.
It is. I'd love to talk about that one.
Yeah, it'd be fun. But alas, we're here back at Manacled again, and we left at one of my favorite parts, which is her crying in the middle of the creek.
I love it. I mean, I didn't even really want to finish talking about it when we finished talking about it last episode, but we kind of had to because like you don't want to give away more what's to come. But yeah, I love this part when he finds her in the creek. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like, the fuck, Granger?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Because right before that, and like before we get into this chapter, she is, she did kind of make herself in an area where she knew that she was going to have her breakdown. She planned that. She wanted to have her breakdown that moment.
Yep.
And he's interrupting it.
And it's a well-deserved breakdown. I mean, she's got a lot going on, as annoying as we both find her.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, she's entitled to a breakdown of everything that she's been dealing with.
And she planned this. Like, this is when so if anytime she's going to be annoyingly like crazy, this is allowed. Like, she's like, this is my scheduled breakdown. Like, this is what I'm going to do. And he's just like, the fuck?
And the thing is that she really has no place to go. Like, she can't really go in the shack if she wanted that sort of privacy. She doesn't want to be with anybody in the order. So I guess the creek bed. I mean, what is it? Oh, I guess it's July, so maybe it's hot because I wouldn't just be sitting in the middle of the creek.
I wouldn't be sitting in the creek. I remember at one of the chapters it talks about there was like a boulder or a big rock somewhere beside that. I would be sitting on that.
Yes.
But like, no, she's really having a breakdown.
Yeah.
And she's like deciding that's it. I'm going to go in the middle of the creek and be a big baby.
Sit there and drink my wine. Like, all right. I can respect it.
It's funny because she tells him to like leave and she smacks water in his direction. Like, get the fuck.
Yeah.
She says bugger off. So she smacks water in his direction. And he goes, are you drunk? And she goes, or some shit like that. And he goes, you can't be in the middle of the creek crying. And she goes, I'm pretty sure I can. I'm doing it right now.
Yeah. She says, actually, I can. Aside from you, there's nobody to see. And then she even says, I have planned my emotional breakdown carefully and you are ruining it. I remember reading this and I don't know why I loved this so much. Because this is so like Hermione. Like I did everything. Nobody knows where I'm at or nobody cares where I'm at. Everybody's doing something. Like I planned this.
Yeah, just let me be. Just let me
cry,
like,
man.
Yeah, because like he's like always giving her shit, causing her grief when she's over there, and like she doesn't want to do. If I remember correctly, he was giving her shit about not hexing him. So and he said some mean ass shit. So like she's just like having a moment. Let her have it, and he just keeps on giving her more.
He's
shit.
not going to give her this moment,
but. Obviously, he's just like, fuck this. He goes and he tries to grab her out, and she just says that he's worse than. She says, "I hate you," and I think she even tells him that she hates him or he's worse than Voldemort. But he says Voldemort. She says Voldemort.
Yeah, what she says is that you and Voldemort have ruined my life.
Yeah,
and she just wants this moment, and of course he's like. Hermione, or he says Granger, you idiot, and then he goes and grabs her and apparates them into the shack, and he basically tells her like, "Yo, his name is
taboo.
It's taboo.
You're not supposed to be saying that." I told you because he did tell her that, and she says it. Well, she's drunk, so of course she's not really paying attention to what she's doing. Yeah, and he's just and then she goes and cries more and just gets all emotional and stuff like that. And he's just like staring at her while she's like dripping in tears. Dripping in tears and wet.
Yeah, and she says something here to him. She screams. Well, she doesn't scream it, but she says, "I hate you." She finally said, and he says, "The feeling is decidedly mutual." Which I would just like to point out, this is the same sort of thing that she said. A lot of chapters earlier when he was saying that it's an insult that you're in my house and for you to think that I would even want to touch you, like I would never. And she says to him, the feeling is decidedly mutual. So this is one of those things where they
flip flop or they flip flop on who says what or it's one of those things where it's just repeated behavior.
Yeah, repeated behavior is exactly
So she throws more of a fit, and she goes on saying, I'm going to be alone when this war is won and everybody gets to be able to do what they want. I'm stuck with you pretty much. I don't get to do what I want. I'm going to be alone. And she starts crying, and she says that Harry and Ron will never forgive her. And he's just looking at her like, I don't know where you expect me to give a shit.
I don't know why you think I care.
I don't know why you think I give a shit. Like, and she goes, well, you brought me here knowing I'm a sopping mess. And if you didn't want to hear about it, you should just left me alone like I fucking told you to repeatedly because you did. She's like, so I don't see why you just don't fuck off.
Yeah.
She's got a point.
Like, she does got a point.
I don't agree with a lot of shit Hermione says or does.
Same.
But, like, this is her moment where I'm just like, she's fucking right.
Yeah. She has a well-earned and scheduled breakdown. Just leave her alone if you didn't want to hear about why she was crying and all of this. And she's drunk. So it's like, she's even more emotional. Like, you should have just left her in the creek if you really didn't want to hear about it. But
it's funny too, because at this point Draco's just like, oh, finally you're not being this sweet touchy-feely girl with me. You know you're finally like telling me the truth and how you really feel about me. And he's just like smiling about it.
Yeah, wondering how long it was gonna take.
Yeah. And she just kept telling him to shut up. And he just antagonized her more and more. Yeah. It's funny to me. I love it.
And then I think she even asks him, or at least thinks out loud, I wonder why you're trying so hard to get me to hate you.
Yeah, because at this point, instead of like shutting the fuck up, he says more things on why. Like, oh, I did this, I did that. And she's just like, why do you keep doing this?
Yeah.
What is the point of this? There's no reason for, I already hate you. You don't need to say these things. So,
but it's like he's so desperate to be painted as a villain in her mind. At least that's what she's gathering now. Because what's the point of this?
Yeah. There's no reason for it. She's like, like I said, I've told you several times I hate you. I'm not going to hate you more. Like, I already hate you enough. You've done it.
You've maxed out on all of the hatred.
So, like, this just makes me feel like there's something more to this than you just wanting me to hate you. It's like you want me to continue. Like, you don't want me to see anything other than hate. You have to keep reminding me, but you don't, is what you keep saying. So I think he just stares at her, just looking at her like, okay, like, this drunken fool.
Yeah.
And I want to say, she asks him at this point, what's it like for you to be drunk? Because she finally breaks the silence. She's like, well, how are you drunk? And he goes quieter and angrier.
And I love what she says back. She says, of course, heaven forbid you be anything interesting. I'm sorry, but out of the two of you, he is the most interesting.
I think he's more interesting than you, Hermione. You're just a mess.
Yeah.
A mess doesn't equate interesting.
Yeah, no. The fact that he gets quieter and angrier is way more intriguing.
I know. I think so too. And of course, he does my favorite thing in the whole world. Conjures up a chair like a beast, and he sits at it and just watches her.
Straddles it backwards. Yeah.
And he didn't picture her as a weepy drunk, he said.
Yeah.
And she goes, I'm not normally like this. I'm usually really happy-go-lucky. And she makes it a point that to say that the last time she really engaged in like her drunken activities prior to the war, she was with Ron and Harry, and it was her 17th birthday. And she was really excited to spend time with them and all that stuff. But she was getting super loud, and they were trying to hush her up as they brought her back to the room.
And I think she said that it was the day before Dumbledore.
The day before Dumbledore, he killed Dumbledore. Yeah, she said. Because he goes, when was this? I don't recall you being like this. And she said it was the day before you killed Dumbledore. So that's pretty, because he just sat there like, oh shit, like realizing the gravity of, well, I'm sure he already knows, but like how it impacted her.
Yes, specifically.
Yeah.
And then she even says that she planned to get drunk or high, but she doesn't really want to be around anybody at the Order, and the creek is really the only place she thought of.
Yeah, because she was worried that you know, if she, I don't know, she can't necessarily talk about her problems and what's going on with her right now with anybody.
Yeah. So what's the point of even getting high with some friends? Like, you're just gonna sit there. It's much better to just sit in a creek and be able to just cry without having to have a conversation about why, without having to answer questions or explain anything.
Oh, I agree. And like, you could be yourself without having to hold back any emotion. You could like she was trying to do, have a full on fucking mental breakdown.
Yep.
And she goes, what are you even doing here anyways? And he's like, I expected you to do something stupid.
Yeah, which is weird, because like, how would you?
Maybe because he knew like he put her to her tipping point. I mean, he mentioned Colin Creamy.
Yeah, I suppose.
But still, like.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just great timing on his end, I guess. Great intuition
always,
for him, yeah.
Always his great intuition.
He just knows her so well.
So well. Sure, Draco.
And it's so romantic. I'm just going to say.
I like how you screamed out. It's so romantic.
It is. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be quiet about it. The fact that he knows her so well that he's like, I knew you were going to do something.
I agree. I love it. But it's like, why would he care? You know, like at this point in the flash, in like the reality of things where they were prior to the flashbacks, I kind of can understand now, because it feels like they did build a rapport. This is you just finding out. But so this is the beginning of it. And it's like, why would he have that emotional connection with her right now that he feels like she would do something stupid. Is it to save his ass? Is it to save her ass? I mean, you're not really clear at this point, but it is still very romantic.
Yes, it is.
He's still there listening to her, having her emotional breakdown when Ron and Harry can give a shit.
Yep.
And these are her fucking friends. Yep. So, like, the fact that Draco, even though he's standing over her, watching her, having her breakdown, he's still there and present and letting her. And
still came to find her, like, because he thought she might do something stupid. Like, nobody else was doing that. Nobody's paying enough attention to even notice that she's at her breaking point.
They don't fucking care where she's even going, let alone about how she's feeling. So, no.
But he does. Yeah. Draco does. And he knows her well enough to know that she was going to do some shit.
Yeah. So he says the reason why he's out there and he gives a shit really is because he didn't want her replaced and that it might be somebody more irritating than her.
Sure, that's just as believable as I'm just looking at your body fat ratio.
Yeah,
like, come on, guys.
They're stupid reasoning. Yeah,
they're so stupid.
So he says he's doing. Look at it as he's doing the Order a favor because she's the only potion mistress and the only healer. So he's keeping her alive for the Order. Okay, whatever, man. Like, right. I don't even want to go through these bullshit things he's saying because it's like not even true.
We see right through it.
But then she started crying again. And he's like, "What are you crying for now?" And she's like, "I'm thinking of Colin.
I'm gonna dream of him tonight."
Yeah, that's right. And Draco's like, "Oh my god, you're just so fucking delusional."
But I don't feel bad for him in this. This is your own fault. You should have left her alone.
You did this to her.
Like, this is your fault.
Yeah, you did this to her. And he just says to her that the reason why he had to do what he's doing is because her delusional thinking was going to get her killed or someone else killed. And the fact that she even told him earlier that she could kill somebody. And she can't even handle Colin being dead.
Yep.
And she goes, "No, that's different because I was trying to heal him and that was the first person who died in my arms. It wasn't like I was defending myself. This was somebody innocent I was trying to save, and it's different."
And she even notes to him too that was a turning point for her. And they're divided. And then she thinks about it again, the same thing that she's been thinking multiple times, that this was the turning point for them in the war and the main strife between her and Harry, which started here.
Yeah, and she said that she could have just continued being insubordinate with her theories and how she wanted to handle practicing the dark arts. But she said that if she would have done that, it would have split the Order, and she didn't want that because she would have went in a different direction than Harry would have. And so she decided that she was going to stay back and heal. And that's pretty much where she went with, instead of becoming a fighter in the battle.
Yep.
She decided to heal because she didn't want to split. And it's like, she is so self-sacrificing to a point where it becomes
obnoxious.
And it's like, come on, Hermione, stop being the fucking martyr.
Yeah.
But like, I understand, like in the beginning I could see how she's like, you know what, I just don't want to divide anybody. I'm going to be a healer. And that's how I'm going to impact this war. And great, you became a great healer. But like, it's funny how when you look at the movies and the book side by side to this, it shows that because she wasn't part of the battle, they actually suffered more.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she's thinking she's not, so. But, I mean, I feel like this also takes a different take because their mind frames in this series is way different.
Yes.
So.
I mean, they're a lot older, though. They've been through a lot, so. But it is a lot more magical. Good always wins. Like, there's a lot more realism here. And
I like it. I like it because I'm rewatching the movies right now, too. And it's like, oh, shit, I could see so much of the toxic, positivity and the delusional way of thinking that, love and good is always going to win. And so Draco even asks Hermione at this part, if he's not going to kill anybody, how is he going to kill Voldemort? Which is a great question. Because it's true. Like, it's a great question. How is he going to kill Voldemort? He doesn't want to kill anybody. And I want to say she didn't specify. She just says that Harry believes there's a prophecy. There's a prophecy. And he's like, oh, great. So I'm pretty much sitting here, like,
putting all of my all of my eggs in your guys' basket over a prophecy.
Yeah.
Then he's not even going to kill him. Yeah. Like, come on.
He doesn't even know if he's going to kill him. There's a prophecy. Well, I mean, they don't say that the prophecy is any different in this book compared to the original series, but the prophecy says one cannot live while the other lives, or something like that. I don't remember the exact wording, but that means you have to kill somebody.
Yep.
Like,
maybe, I don't know. He's just thinking somebody else is going to kill him.
Well, in the prophecy, they have to kill each other. So it has to be by one of their hands.
So
I don't
again,
know.
what's the plan here, man?
I don't know. Draco's got a point, but they never say. They just say the prophecy. And so in this book, I don't think Hermione knows what the prophecy says. Otherwise, she would have said it.
Mm-hmm.
I think. I mean, I don't see why she wouldn't tell Draco, but I think she still hesitates on telling him a lot of things.
Yes. Even though he's proven that his interest is embedded in the Order's survival.
Yeah.
But then I think he asks her to where she went and trained for healing. And she gives the same story that we've heard, that she went and traveled around. And he says that they thought that she had died.
Yeah.
Or ran away. And it wasn't until Snape, I think,
Well, Voldemort started noticing that people were being healed. And he's just like, dying. How are people still surviving? Like, what's going on? And Snape said, oh, well, Hermione is the one. She came back.
Healing them. And told everybody that she was a potion mistress and the healer.
Yeah.
And so now she's learning that Draco already knew what her position was.
And that's probably what heightened his awareness to her presence and decided that if this is the right time, he's going to ask for her.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how long of a time before she came back. I can't recall. I'm assuming a few years. She said she spent 2 years abroad.
Training. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I'm guessing by the third year after Dumbledore died, she came back. I'm assuming. It seems like right around that same time.
Yeah, I agree.
So he must have found out. It doesn't say when he found out from when she came back. I'm curious as to how long it took for them to find out Hermione was healing everybody, for Draco to decide that he wanted her back.
Probably pretty soon, because he would know that people weren't dying or being healed.
Say within the year of her being
fairly quickly. Yeah. Year, maybe 6 months. But then so they have the conversation about Colin too. That sort of comes back up in her mind when she heads back after this. She sort of leaves. She takes her sobriety potion when she gets back, and I think she takes a headache potion as well.
Yeah, because she's starting to still feel not all there, like all together. She still feels, well, I mean, you cried. So that's not, if you're crying that hard, you get a headache. I don't know about you. I get a fucking massive headache. So.
Yeah, especially if I've been drinking.
Yeah.
My God.
There's no relief from that. You're going to have to take some pain meds.
Yeah. And then so she starts thinking about Draco again and how he's so desperate to be the villain. But then she's thinking about the thing that he sort of admitted to about Colin, is that it came off like he was admitting that it was a mercy killing.
Yeah.
That he didn't want to kill, because it was Colin who got killed by the other guy, because he came back for his brother.
Yes.
Do we remember who the other one is?
So the Dolohov is the one who gave, because it was, like I said, it was if you remember in the previous episode, he gave this curse because it was a test. He never used it before. Yes. It was a brand new, and he used it on Colin for the first time.
Yes.
And so I remember mentioning too in last episode, the way he said it, it was almost like it was a turning point for Draco as well.
Yes.
So I believe this, and he never says it is, but it's almost like this is for him too, because he realizes how crazy everybody is, how delusional the Order is, and how crazy his family is.
Yes.
So it's like a pivotal point for him as well, and he uses this. Because he knows it's her pivotal point for Hermione, so he uses it to her. But also, like, she notes that he says he could have survived if he would have just ran. And Draco noticed that and still didn't kill him. It took Dolohov to do it. So it's almost like Hermione's pointing out that he mercy killed the brother. Because,
did it quick and swift, and then
he didn't
wanted Colin to keep running, but Colin was stupid and came back, and that's why he's also so mad at this situation, because
it's like you said, they come back.
Yeah, and it's the turning point for him, and he had to witness this.
Yeah,
because this is him seeing how bad his people are.
Yeah. And there's like the delusion of the Gryffindor sense of mentality that they come back for even the dead, even when they're in danger, mortal danger themselves. And that's why he feels so like adamant about her making sure she fucking trains and doesn't put herself in danger. And if you remember in the previous chapters, he said he had to kill people and string them up on the astronomy tower so that they know they were actually dead because their sense of delusion
when he was the High Reeve. So because they wouldn't believe any of
and they would come back
members. And they would come back. So
it's almost like
all around he hates this whole idea of you just being the weaker. I don't know, army. I guess they are kind of an army. You're the weaker army because you won't kill. You're coming back for the dead. You're doing stupid things just because you have bleeding hearts and you're not actually rationally thinking about things.
Yeah, you're coming back for the dead when you're still in mortal danger.
Yes.
Like, it's not like, oh, the battlefield's clear, let's come and collect our dead. No, they're going back for the dead when they're actively getting attacked.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And they're not even doing anything but stunning.
Mm-hmm.
Not even using counter curses that will assist them. So yeah, Draco is fed up with it. I'm fed up
I'm fed up with it. Yeah, I keep having to talk about it. I'm fucking so annoyed every time.
Yeah. So also, like, when she's noting now that her strategy is going to have to change because she's realizing that Draco isn't as bad as he seems.
Yes.
Like always.
We've already known. But she also is thinking, so now that she's having this sort of
reevaluation of him.
Yeah, she's reevaluating him and she's having this epiphany that, well, actually, he wants to be seen as the villain. He pretty much admitted that he mercy killed Colin. She's thinking to herself, she says, but possibly of greater significance to Hermione, Malfoy didn't regard that as that detail that he saved Colin as a redeeming detail. He'd been certain that she'd
hate him.
He'd become completely mindless for hatred for him once he knew he'd been involved at all. The unintended admission that he'd been trying to let the boy escape wasn't a way of trying to excuse himself. She suspected he didn't even register it as such. Malfoy considered himself a villain because of what he did.
Yeah, and that's why she's seeing it, oh, he's actually mercy killing, and he's seeing it, no, like, I'm the villain. And so that's almost like a redeeming quality in himself, that he knows that his actions are bad. A villain doesn't. And this is what she'll say later. Mm-hmm. I don't think she says it in these parts. So I won't say it because I want to say it when the actual time comes. Mm-hmm. But she's having an epiphany that she more than she doesn't even realize yet. It's like the starting point of understanding that Draco's assistance to the Order is actually sincere. Mm-hmm. And so she's starting to realize it and she's getting closer to his motive.
Yes.
And this is why I was just like, in like the previous episode, girl, you need to sit back. You're not manipulating. You need to understand that these feelings are real and that you're needing to understand that, like, before you can even control him, you need to find out what's really...
You need to understand him.
Mm-hmm. And that's just a good tactic as a whole anyways.
The fact that he doesn't find the mercy killing redeeming and he sees himself as a monster for it shows you that he doesn't even want to be killing.
No.
Like, at the base level, he does not want to be killing anybody.
No.
Let alone his enemy, who is supposed to be the Order. So that is a huge sort of revelation.
Yeah, it is.
And that explains a lot of why he's an angry drunk and why he's angry, because of course
he just doesn't sit well with him.
It looks like he's being forced to do everything that he's doing right now. We don't know why, but that's a crazy thing to hold on to.
Yeah.
And that's why it explains why he's pushing her away so much, because he sees himself as a villain. So he wants to keep inflicting pain on her, making her
pushing her away.
Yeah, pushing her away. He wants to be in the power position so that he can keep the distance because he sees himself as unworthy.
Yeah.
And unlovable, unredeemable, the villain.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Anyways, at the end of flashback chapter 11. And so we continue with flashback chapter 12. And it's still, I believe this is now August. So it's like the beginning of the next month. Mm-hmm. And
she's writing in that fucking notebook again.
So here we go. She's realizing, fuck, I'm an idiot. None of this stuff applies anymore because of her epiphany with the Colin Creevey thing. Mm-hmm. So she's pretty much ripping all her notes out, redoing her notes. And this is when she starts to understand right here that the whole Draco thing. When I was just about to, I lost my train of thought from last time. But she realizes right here that Draco really is trying to be, I don't want to say a better person, but like more that he's trying to amend himself for what he's doing by helping the Order. Because he knows I think Draco knows he's a lost cause, and he doesn't plan on like making everybody see him as anything other than a villain, but he's something inside him he's trying to make better
for his own personal happiness.
Yeah. So I think I think Hermione at this point is thinking that is his ambition, which it really still isn't, but she's getting closer.
Yeah.
And she says their encounter with each other is always been almost like two vipers ready on the verge of attacking, and she doesn't know if he's going to attack or she's going to attack. But now she has to reconsider that because it's no longer dancing vipers in a battle.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more so she's saying that he's not a monster and that he's just trying to fix something.
Yep.
That's pretty much what her assessment is on him right now.
It drives me crazy that she's filling out this fucking notebook every time. Like the fact that she's writing up personal sketches of him. Just I mean, I get because that's just like her personality, and she's got to like. But it just seems so.
I don't know why. Yeah, I agree with you. It is her personality. This is what she does. And that's why I said it's the same thing with the runes.
Yeah.
And I think you're starting you're realizing what I was trying to say.
But the runes seem so much more like meditative. Yes, I don't know, but runes, this seems like
the runes are a doodle. Like I agree, the runes are more of a doodle. That's what she's doing.
She's like really trying to get stop being dumb. Like you don't. I don't know. It's just.
I agree. I
don't even know how to explain it, but I hate the sketches that she makes of him so much.
Yes, I agree.
And it's even if you start to like him too, because like you know what she's doing, and it drives me crazy. Because she knows that she can't, and we'll get into it more because she has a conversation with Snape about it, but she knows that she can't get into where she needs to be into his art without catching feelings. But she's still trying to be all, like I don't know, impersonal off on the side. I don't get it.
I agree. I'm 100% with you on that. It drives me bonkers. It drives me bonkers. So like when she finally realizes that she's gonna have to be different because kind and clever isn't going to work, she says. No, she says kind and cleverness is going to have to work. She has to be more kinder because she's realizing that it is working.
Because it is because he's like
because he wants her to hate him.
Yes.
And so if she feels like no matter what, she just has to put her hate for him aside and continue feeling warm and fuzzy.
Put it aside.
She is already like,
okay.
Yeah. She's thinking that though. It's like, girl, you don't have to put anything aside.
Yeah, you don't hate him.
You already have feelings for him. So,
and it makes it hard because you see him as like a monster who's not really a monster, but who thinks he's a monster. So now she's like, now I have to get in and like occupy that space and show him that he's not a monster and that he's lovable and that he's redeemable. That's her next role.
Yeah. And so she's realizing I can do this because I have to tend to his back. So I see him every day. So I just have to start my new approach.
I just gotta whisper into his ear.
Oh my God, that's so creepy.
Check him out while he's unconscious.
Oh my God.
I don't think he gets unconscious anymore.
But... No, I think I think that's it. I think that's it.
She got her 2 chances to ogle and she took advantage of those.
Did, and I want to say she continues to do it anyways. At least now he's awake.
Yeah.
And she could do it consentedly.
With consent.
Because it's fucking weird.
Yeah, it is kind of weird.
So the next night she does go back to him, but she apologizes and says she won't do it again. He's right. It was careless. And he goes, good. I'm not your keeper. I'm not interested in having to monitor you in order to keep you alive. And of course he does his favorite thing. My favorite thing. He summons the chair, unbuttons his shirt, and gets ready for her to tend to his back.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And I think she's just cleaning them right now, but she is going to have to close the incisions. Yeah. And then so she asks him basically when's a good time. Of course they pick 8:00. Because why would they pick another time?
Yeah. And that's 8:00 at night. I think sometimes she was going to him in the morning and then going to him in the evening, like for training or healing. It was depending on what time they could meet each other.
I think they were always doing later at night for the healing, and then in the morning they would do their regular shack meetings, which is the dueling and the training. So it makes sense. It's going to be Monday at 8. She reapplies the spells and the salve.
Salve, yeah.
And is it salve?
I think it's salve.
Okay.
I don't know.
Spelled with an L, but okay. Yeah. I trust you.
I don't know. I wouldn't trust me. I make shit up as I go. So I say salve, but it could be salve. Salve.
Don't come to us for how words are pronounced because we don't got it.
Nope.
So while she's sort of healing him and talking about this, they're having a conversation about the runes. And he says that he can sort of feel their impulse or feel their, not impulse. What's the word that I want to use? Their influence. Yeah. He can feel their influence. They don't necessarily force him to do things, but they make things hard. Like, he can't dissuade himself as easily from things that he wants.
All his wants and needs, he goes for it much harder.
Yeah, he really wants them. Which, the moment I heard that, it would be checkmate for him.
And she even notes that too. Mm-hmm. I think later she's like, oh, so if he really does want me.
Like, you can't resist.
Now he's not going to be able to resist the temptation for me. Wow. And there's a whole conversation about that later with somebody, but we'll discuss that. She's starting to realize that he can't be dissuaded from his impulses anymore.
it's a lot harder for him.
Yeah.
Because he chose specific runes, which he says. Basically, he was saying that what did he call it before? The ritual.
Yeah.
He's basically saying that the ritual that happened was his penance for what he did, which was, as a reminder, he was the delay that allowed the order to raid the prisons and get their people out. So he said, I already had to grovel. If I chose the runes, which he chose all of them, then he was able to ensure that Voldemort couldn't put anything that was going to be problematic to anything he was doing.
Yeah.
Specifically, probably with the order. And then he said that's why there are so many. I didn't want to leave any room for additional promises. He had to be convinced of my remorse. So if you remember, I think I put up the picture last episode. If you remember, his back is covered. Like, there is no more room for any more runes. So he chose every single one of those, didn't leave room for another one.
And there's no attachment to loyalty to Voldemort. So these are specifically to him and his needs and wants.
To make him better, to make him like quicker, faster,
stronger,
more powerful. Yep, those runes are ruining.
They're doing really hard.
They're doing the job. And then she mentions to him basically that he has to stay awake in order for these to set properly as she's closing them. So she tells him, you probably want to bring some alcohol because it's going to hurt.
I love this. Yes, it's going to hurt, and she's going to do it so that way it's not restricting his movement, because she wants to heal as he's moving around and stuff like that. So that way she knows that he could duel properly and all that other stuff.
And then I think that's the end of this meeting. He just leaves after that.
Yeah. And then they have the next day, they go right back into attending to his wounds. And she noticed that he's starting to be a little bit more relaxed to her touch. And they both are growing comfortable with each other. Not just him, but she is too.
Well, shit, when did we start this? It's now August?
Fuck, yeah, I don't know. I think
it's been like 3 months?
It's been a while. I can't remember what. I remember July definitely was all of her healing him. So
yes. And I think in June was when the order hit.
I think so.
So it must have been.
And they're seeing each other every day.
Yeah, twice a day now. So yeah, God, guys, it's been like 4 or 5 months.
It's taken this long.
Yeah, me too.
Well, it take me long. Maybe the first week I'm bad. So
yeah, same.
So that was that one day. They only did a little bit of a healing thing, and then she came back the next day. So this is like a couple days later. She put a soothing charm on his incisions and noticed that the venom was gone, and she continued to heal him some more, and that the wounds are still open, but not to go dueling. I think this is getting ready for I think this is the day before.
Yeah.
So she tells them, hey, like, don't do anything crazy. Your wounds are still open. We need to fix it. So it'll be tomorrow. So just make sure you don't fucking go crazy. And then she goes back to Grimmauld Place because her bracelet, as she gets there, her bracelet goes like really, really hot.
Yes.
And her bracelet is the thing that's telling her about, I think that's her room, right? Is her bracelet the one that tells her about her notebooks being moved? It doesn't I don't remember. I just know that her bracelet grows hot. I don't know if it has something to do with the Grimmauld Place itself.
I thought
if that's like a healing thing.
Yeah, I thought the bracelet was to warn her because she's sort of on call because they put in Pomfrey.
Okay.
No, the other girl. There's another P.
Padme?
Padme, yeah. They put, I don't know why would you do 2 Ps? Just to confuse me.
Well, Padme is actually one of the girls that Harry goes, I think she's the girl that Harry goes. There's Padme Patel and something else. The 2 girls. They're the ones that Harry and Ron go to the ball with.
Oh.
Yeah, that's who that one knows.
Didn't have to make her a healer because now I'm confused with the Poppy and the Pomfrey. Anyway, so I think the bracelet is now her on call.
Okay, that makes sense.
She's taken her position. And so when she is back at the Grimmauld why do I say palace every time? Grimmauld Place. It starts burning and because there's a huge emergency. And the huge emergency is now that Ginny has a huge slash down her face. It's like from one temple across her eye. I think it looked like she might lose her eye. I don't know who tells her. Is it Ron or Harry that tells her that she was hit with a...
I think it's Harry because I don't think she goes and talks to Ron yet. I think Ron is like fucking sobbing. Yeah.
So she gets hit with a necrosis, or she got hit with a necrosis while they were out. And they were her, Ginny, Harry, and Ron were out looking for Horcruxes.
Yeah, and they were at a campsite.
And they were at a campsite when they got attacked. And Ron took a blade out. It was a goblin rot blade.
Which is important, yeah.
And dug the curse out of her face before they brought her here. And she makes mention that if he wouldn't have done that, then she probably would have died. It would have reached her brain.
Yeah, and she said they were followed by Lucius. Lucius is the one
who hit her with it.
Yeah. And she goes back, of course, thinking about how Lucius did all this stuff to the Weasley family. We were not going to get into detail.
Like, we already said it.
A million
Cursed
times.
the dad.
Yeah.
Hurt the brother's leg.
Yeah. She goes off about this whole thing again, and then she just thinks about how it was a setback. So she didn't mention this before, so we'll briefly touch on it. Lucius is causing a lot of issues with the Weasley family, which is causing a lot of issues with the Order. So every time he injures one of the Weasleys, it is like a downfall spiral and a setback to the Order, because now all these people are like, Molly is having to tend to Arthur. One of the kids are having to tend to Arthur because Arthur can't do anything. So it's like taking away members of the Order. And now he's taking away Ginny, which is also causing issues with Ron and Harry. I don't know if Lucius realizes the impact he's causing when he hurt Ginny. Yes. And so now they're thinking that she's going to die. Can you imagine if she does die?
My God, it would spend the main figureheads of this whole operation
would go down,
would die.
Yeah,
well, they wouldn't technically die, but
they would be
at a loss.
Yeah, because like she's the only girl too in the Weasley family, which impacts the mom, and then of course
the older brothers, everybody.
But like this is Harry's girlfriend.
Yep, which Lucius probably doesn't know.
No, I don't think he knows. But the idea of it is like, if anything, if Lucius did really want to attack any of the Weasleys with an impact,
that was the one to get. Yeah. So he got that one. Hermione gets her into bed, does work on her. She has to keep her in a suspended state while she regrows the bones and restitches everything up. It's very disgusting.
She also does a diagnostic to look and see if there's any necrosis left. And she realizes there's really nothing left except for where the blade touched the skull.
Yes.
And that's important. So the blade, there was not, he cut it all out except for it looked like something, the necrosis was growing again. So wherever the blade touched, it started to grow. So she found that very interesting. And so she went and talked to Harry. Harry told her what happened, that he just stood there and watched her best friend.
And the love of his life was dying.
Yeah, and Ron was the only one doing anything and cutting it all out, and he just stood there and watched, and it was devastating to him. So Hermione notices that Harry is just so super, super distraught. So she gives him a calming draught to calm his ass down because he's hysterical. Yeah, I mean, rightfully so. But she asks where Ron is, and Harry tells her that. I don't remember what Harry exactly tells her, but she goes to see Ron, and then I think Ron, does he see Ron? Does she actually see Ron right now? I think she does.
Yeah, she does for a brief moment, because I think
she asks her where the knife is.
Yeah, they have a moment of where he embraces, and she says, "You did a great job."
Yeah,
essentially you saved her life.
Yeah,
and then asks him where the blade is.
Yeah, so she goes and gets the knife, but I don't think she does anything.
Or I think she asks where his pack is, and then she asks Neville as she's running around, and Neville was like, I don't know, it's in this room somewhere, and she goes in there and grabs the knife out.
And then I think she goes to the kitchen, and she takes the knife, and she cuts chicken with it, and she notices that the necrosis is spreading throughout the chicken. So she's like, oh, this is good news, That's how the curse was spread to her bone, because when the knife touched the bone, when he cut it out, it created more necrosis. So that's when they go to the Order, I think.
Yeah, there's a Order meeting that's happening, but it's only with a select few, just the ones who are aware of the hunting for the Horcruxes.
Yeah, it's a debriefing, I think, of what happened. So Moody's Patronus, by the way, is a bulldog, and he summons Harry and Hermione over there. So they go into the meeting, and they have a discussion of what happened, I think. They want to know what happened, and they say what happened. which,
Yeah.
you know, we learned from Harry.
But we also learned that it was Harry who forgot to put up the wards.
Yes.
And that's why they got attacked. So I think that played a lot into his sort of standing around doing nothing. And then also his guilt and everything that he's feeling now. Because they were just camping and they got attacked.
I mean, yeah, like that's kind of shitty, you know.
How do you forget to put up your Harry fucking pot? You know everybody's looking for you.
You know, I have to say, in the movies, it was always Hermione doing this shit.
I mean, but he's been well on these.
No, I agree, and that's why it's like I think a lot of the times in the books and the movies, even in the books and the movies, the original shit, Harry himself knows that he's not the greatest.
Mm-hmm.
It was Ron and Hermione that was saving his ass all the time. I mean, he did what he could do. Obviously, he's powerful, but at the same time, it's like he knew without Hermione and Ron, he wasn't gonna fucking live.
Yeah.
And so this shows, in my opinion, that why Hermione was so valuable and the success of Harry in the books.
Well, yeah, why they as a unit were so successful.
Yeah. But in this specific reason, why Hermione was. You know what I mean? Because Hermione was very meticulous, made sure that they were protected. Like, they wouldn't think of this stuff. Ron and Harry didn't think of this shit all the time. And it was Hermione that actually, her strength in this was making sure she had the right spells for the right things. And so because of that, because Harry wasn't doing what he should have been doing and paying attention, I mean, to be fair, Ginny and Ron could have done it too.
That's true.
But they didn't. So... But Harry sees it as he should have done it. Maybe it was his task that day. Who knows?
Yeah.
But so because of that, they had their little discussion and what happened. And then shortly after, they ask, "Does anybody have anything to add?" And Hermione's like, "I do." And she's just thinking in herself, in the back of her head, "I don't know. Maybe this isn't going to be a good idea. Maybe I shouldn't tell everybody, but I have to." So she does. She tells them about how the knife is goblet raw, and because of that, it absorbed the necrosis curse. And so now anything that the knife cuts or touches, it will
deposit that curse.
And she realized it from it being on Ginny's skull.
Yes.
And that's why she has to take more skull off of Ginny and regrow. So this is now devastating Ron.
Yes.
Because he's now thinking
he made it deeper.
Yeah. And that's not his fault.
Which I don't really... I mean, I get this is the hole that people fall into, but, like, it's not his fault. Like, he has no reason to feel bad. And then the conversation that precedes this also pisses me off.
I don't remember what happened. Oh, I think
we'll get to it.
Yeah.
Because it just gets worse. Because none of this is anybody's fault.
No, it's not.
And she found out something very important. Essentially, the knife absorbs whatever's the most deadliest thing that it comes in contact with. So once it came in contact, it was nothing before, and then it came in contact with the necrosis. Now it has that. And then I think she's thinking that the Sword of Gryffindor has basilisk venom.
Yes,
because
in the Chamber of Secrets, it was used to kill a basilisk. And so it was also used a basilisk fang was used to destroy the diary. So that shows she's hinting towards how these things could kill Horcruxes.
If you get them to infuse with basilisk venom.
Basilisk, yeah.
Basilisk, whatever it's
the big
called.
Snake.
The big snake's venom. So she has this great revolutionizing moment for them that everyone can understand. Great, now we have weapons to kill all these Horcruxes we're finding. Do you think people appreciate this?
No.
Not really, not Harry, because he storms after her after.
Well, I think she asks, Moody asks if there's anything more to report, and he says no, nothing on Horcruxes. So, like, the only gathered information for these Horcruxes right now is Hermione's accidental discovery.
Yes. The only thing that came out of this entire mission, this horrible thing that happened, was a great thing that Hermione discovered. And Harry was very upset about it. I think she's walking back and he's in the room with Jenny and he starts arguing with her. Yeah. How could you bring that up? You know that would hurt Ron. I was so confused at this part because I really just don't understand where his anger and animosity is coming from, because he basically says to her, like, while you were healing her, were you thinking about this? You're just looking at her as an equation and helping you come up with things. You're not even paying attention to her as a person. This is your roommate. This is your best friend's sister. This is the love of my life, blah, blah, blah. And she's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I can think of two different things. I can mourn her while also discovering something. Like, it's not impossible.
And like when he's yelling and screaming at her, she's just getting more and more offended and just sitting there gripping her fucking fist, because she's just like, how can he think this stuff? How can he sit here and think that she's the healer? Of course she's feeling this stuff, but she's also got to recognize, like, every healer has to put that fucking shit aside so they can do their job. So what do you expect her to do, Harry? Fucking sob by her bedside?
And not like even as a healer, she's going to have to understand how this is spreading, how it got to her skull.
Help her.
Yes. So this was just par for the course for her healing Jenny. Doesn't at all mean that she didn't mourn the situation or that she wasn't terrified or sad about what happened. They're just so like one-dimensional in their thinking. Like, you can only do this or this. There is nothing in between. So
there's a part in the movie too that I extremely love where they're talking about Harry kissing Cho Chang, and Harry tells them that it was kind of wet because like she was crying. And okay, it sounds weird, but it's because she used to date Cedric Diggory, who died. So she's upset. And so Ron's like, what? I don't understand. You think a bit of snogging would make her happy. And Hermione's like, well, you got to understand how she feels. Her boyfriend died. She's going through all this sadness. And then she's kissing Harry. So she probably feels guilty and blah, 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 blah. And they're like, Ron goes, there's no way one person could feel all that at one moment. She goes, well, just because you have an emotional range of a teaspoon. I was like,
yes,
that's hilarious, because this is that moment.
This is,
like, she doesn't have the emotional range of a teaspoon, like she can feel all these things
and still have her mind working, still be thinking about things. I don't understand.
The mind of a woman is an amazing thing.
Yeah.
And if it's crazy to me how some people will sit back and be like, you can't all think of that. It's like, yes, that's why I'm capable of doing
multiple things. Yeah, exactly. I don't understand. Like, to me, it blows my mind that you're a robot. You only handle one task and emotion at a time.
It
like,
makes
no,
me worried
I'm sad. I can't think any further than my sadness.
And what's crazy to me is that if that's what these people think, that you can only take care of one emotion at a time, I don't want you in charge of nothing.
Oh my God, no. You can't multitask at all.
No, you shouldn't be telling anybody anything on how to do anything. You can't. One, you're not going to be able to delegate, because if you can't think of people's emotions and still maintain a level of, I don't know, precision thinking, then fuck off. Like, don't be in charge of anything, because I could sit here, keep my sadness, my anger, and all this stuff compartmentalized, and still at the end of the day, do what I need to fucking do. If you can't do that,
and I schedule my breakdowns and my reflections when they need to be. I get my shit done, and we worry about the rest later. I don't understand why.
That's why I was so in love with her scheduled breakdown.
Me too. I was like, yes, Hermione, I feel this.
Yeah.
But this drives me insane.
Yeah, no, I really hate Harry at this point. This is not a friend. He is not a friend to her, and he says something about this later.
Yeah, he even says to her, like, I don't even recognize you anymore at the end of this. And she's like, I don't recognize you.
Yeah, oh my God, them too. So after this, I think Harry is with the Ginny at this moment, and Ginny is like, when they're having this discussion, and Ginny is completely like in a stasis mode. She doesn't hear anything. So Hermione leaves the room because she went to go tend to Ginny when this was happening.
And he was there, ready to fucking pounce on her.
Yeah, like, what an asshole!
How dare you make breakthrough? While you're healing her.
How dare you tell the Order how we could be better at our job? Like,
so she's so not she. He's so stupid. Yeah.
So at this moment she's had enough. She leaves the room and kind of just stays frozen and thinks about, tries not to dwell on what Harry said. And she noted that after listen, it's funny because she was like, fuck his bullshit. I have to go and take care of Ginny in a few hours, because right now it's not the moment in time that I could actually take care of her. It's going to be a few hours. So he's lucky that she's capable of doing this, because if he wanted her to dwell on sadness, she wouldn't be able to come back
and deal with Ginny.
Yeah.
So or her anger, any other emotions.
Yeah, fuck off.
It's like they're so just okay with utilizing her to the extreme that they need her to be utilized for, and then they're fine to just come at her for the stupidest things, call her a traitor, call her a bitch, and then need her when they need her. And
Yeah.
like just expect that to be okay.
Well, it's crazy because she's feeling in this moment that she's actually being pushed aside even in her work, because Padme is taking over and she's taking over her assigned shifts, and it's getting to the point where she's realizing that she's only going to be good for one thing, and that is to handle Draco.
Yep.
Because everything she's doing is slowly being pushed out from the order.
Yep.
And Padme right now is like the assistant type or apprentice to Padme, or sorry, to Poppy, Poppy and Hermione. So she realizes that. She's like, so pretty much I'm being pushed out in all ends right now.
Yes. Her only job is to be Draco's whore, which she likens herself to a couple times in here.
She's like, I just want somebody to give a fuck about me. And you know who that is? That's Draco. Sorry, Hermione, but it ain't your friend.
No, it's not your friend.
And at this point, like, you being well cared for by Draco more than anybody else.
And then she's even thinking, too, that Moody reminded Hermione that she is to do anything that Malfoy required of her.
Yeah.
Hermione wanted Moody to feel bad for this, but knows that he doesn't.
And she's also like, I can't expect him to feel bad because I'm willingly doing this. So it's like she's torn. She's just like, but she's still mad that they have no remorse for what's happening.
Yeah. She even says, like, if Draco were to be raping her, he would give her the same instruction.
Yeah. As everything else that he's telling her to do.
Yep. Which they already think that he is. So
yeah, they're not asking. They don't care.
They're just like, keep being his victim. Like, keep doing what you're doing, girl.
You're doing a great job.
Good job.
Good for you.
It's so fucked up.
Like I said a few episodes back, it's like her work day. Except, like, when I said that before, it was in the part where Draco was essaying her in the mansion. Now it's like, this is a whole different work day for her. Like, like, come on, guys.
Just keep making that boy happy.
Yeah, she was just like, I don't even feel like I could feel, I don't know. She's getting to the point where she's saying she's feeling complicit in this.
Yes.
She's feeling like, because Moody and Kingsley are using her more for than just Draco. There's times where they kidnap. I don't say kidnap. I can't even say snatch. Yeah, thank you. I'm at a loss of word. Yeah, snatch the snatchers.
Snatch the snatchers.
Snatch the snatchers. Okay, yeah. So they capture Death Eaters and other members of Voldemort's army, and they're bringing them back to like a cave. This goes back to something in the beginning of the book. So they're bringing her back to a cave and having her heal these people so that they can interrogate them. And when I say interrogate, I mean like torture.
Yeah. So Kingsley and Moody are doing this.
Yeah, and she's complicit in this.
And so she even says, too, that they play along with policy, but they don't adhere to it.
Yeah.
And she's becoming complicit. And then the order is just like ignoring it.
Yes.
Like this information is coming to them and they're not really asking. It's like they're purposely not asking where it's coming from because they don't want to know. They have these policies of be good, don't hurt anybody, be gentle. And then here you have people torturing on their behalf, getting them information. And they're just like, thanks, I'm not going to look into this.
Yeah, the only person they're not ignoring, she says, is Snape. I think it's because it's so overtly in their face.
Yes, because they know that he's doing stuff for Voldemort.
And he doesn't care. He doesn't care that they know. That's the thing. But Kingsley and Moody are just like hiding behind the sidelines, doing more shit. And Hermione's at this point is like, what else are they doing?
Yes.
What else are they doing that I don't know about? Because
I know. Who else have they sold to Death Eaters?
Yeah. Yeah. So this cave thing, I want to touch on a little bit, is pretty interesting because, like, when Graham was giving her shit, saying she stabbed him in the cave when he saw her in the cave. So this is kind of hinting towards she may have seen him in the. Well, obviously he did. She did because she says he did. So at what point in time does Graham get brought up? You know what I mean? Like she's gonna see him.
Yep. In
so
the caves.
Yeah, and that's pretty weird. How that was one of the memories that were taken from her because she has no recollection of this. So it seems so far that we can establish that the memories that are not clear to her and her before the flashbacks have all pertaining to her being a spy.
Yes.
Or not spy, a handler.
A handler. Because they all tie back to Draco's role as well.
Exactly. So Draco, like, it seems to me so far, you can assume that her memory loss is in efforts to protect Draco so far. Who else is not clear, but it's definitely because most of the people are dead that she's dealing with. So it can't be any of them. So right now it's pretty clear that she's holding back Draco's
position.
Yes. And the spy bullshit.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a good assessment so far, obviously, because that's what she says. She doesn't remember this, she doesn't remember that, and it always pertains to Draco's.
Yeah. These glaring holes that she doesn't remember all seem to be around what was going on here. The spying from both of them, the things that they were doing for both.
And like
for
Draco,
the order.
The whole thing Draco's does completely wiped.
Gone. Yeah.
She even said that there was a part right after her coming back from healing, from like learning to heal, that she could not remember, and that's this. So like you were right, it could have been very close to her coming back because she doesn't recall anything after.
Because they're going to notice right away that people are not dying, that they're coming back on the battlefield.
And if her memory loss happens right after her coming back from healing, this must have been right when she noticed Draco.
Yep.
So I think you're right on that.
And then I think that wraps up her time there, and I think it goes to the next day when she has to heal Ginny. Or not the next day, because it's just a couple hours. She goes back in and sees Ginny, and Ginny's awake and the scar is healed, and she sits down and sort of tells Ginny a little bit of what happened, and then gives her a mirror. And of course Ginny is distraught over the fact that she has a ginormous scar across her face. And then she feels feeling bad about it, because she's like, well, at least I'm alive. But like, it's okay to mourn the fact that now you have this scar across your face. Like, that's okay.
You can grieve for yourself, because I'm spitting. Because like, you're grieving for like who you were, your loss of yourself. That is completely fine to grieve the loss of yourself and who you are now. I mean, a lot of people don't take that into consideration when, you as a person have changed, like in anything, different types of relationships, different jobs, different parts of your world. Like, you move from one place to another, like you can grieve those moments.
I think
you can grieve even though you're progressing.
Yes. I think it's scary to see things like that. Like, if you were to get even a small scar, to see something that's altered on something that you recognize, like, to me, that's it's not a fear, but it's
no.
If I ever fall or something, I think I chipped my tooth. I don't think I did. I did chip my tooth, and it was a little scary. Like, it's not that big of a deal. It's a small chip, but it's something that's altered from what you recognize yourself to be. So it is totally fine.
Yeah.
I would be upset, and it doesn't have to be a vanity reason, because her scar looks pretty badass when we see it later.
I think it's pretty badass.
I mean, do I want a scar across my face? No, but also, like,
I would make shit up and telling people all sorts of stuff on having a scar across my face. But Ginny doesn't have to.
Yeah, she has a badass story for it, and she only gets more badass.
In the real world, if I had a scar across my face and it didn't have anything to do with battle except for me falling down clumsily, I think I would make up a big lie.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
At least to random people I don't know. Friends and family, I tell the truth. But like,
you'd be a cool-ass NPC in somebody's life. Yo, I was battling like 5 dudes. And one just got me with a knife, but the rest are dead.
I know. When originally, it would be just like, oh, I went to go get pizza. I was in such a hurry and I tripped.
I tripped and fell. Yes, that would be also my story too. Food was humming and I was hungry. I was fucking it. Slammed into a counter. Yeah. Oh my God, it would be embarrassing. So they have this little conversation here, and Hermione says the same thing. She assures her that it is okay for her to feel sad about this. And then I think that she goes back to, does it end right here? Or does she go to see Snape?
She really goes, she pretty much says that I'm just going to go see my mom and blah, 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 blah. Because her mom's worried.
Ginny says
that. It's just small talk at this point. So right after, which is really not that important.
Yeah.
I mean, there's more stuff coming up in this book that we'd rather talk about. Not the conversation.
Oh, for sure.
With your mom.
Yeah, I don't.
So, yeah.
All right. Bye, Ginny.
Right after this, Hermione goes to Snape and talk to him about the goblet wrought blade infused with the venom, to talk to him about if it, like, this is common and could it destroy a Horcrux. And I think this is when they have this conversation about how Dumbledore was affected by the Horcrux he damaged and destroyed, and how it mortally wounded him, and it didn't. I don't think he used any kind of special blade or anything like that. So,
but Snape does confirm that he thinks that
yeah, it would work.
The venom infused weapons would be strong enough to destroy a Horcrux.
Yeah, but Snape goes into a whole bunch of things with Hermione, with Dumbledore's issue, and how he planned his demise, and that he was initially supposed to kill Dumbledore, but he didn't because Draco got to him, and that he believes that it was Draco's punishment for Lucius, or it's Lucius' punishment, I think, for going to Azkaban or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So they're using Draco as a form of punishment to kill Dumbledore, and it was this whole thing. It's pretty similar to the books and the movies.
Yeah,
how it transpired, but obviously Draco did end up killing Dumbledore.
He says something here though that I think is interesting when he's talking about Dumbledore. He said that Dumbledore probably knew most of the Horcruxes or knew about it and was going to tell Harry, but he was going to do it through a series of trials.
There's a reason for that. There's a reason for that, because the connection between Harry and Voldemort.
He couldn't just tell him. He had to
No, because at this point, if you watch the books and the movies, it kind of doesn't describe it in the movies, but in the books, Harry's connection to Voldemort is becoming so strong that Harry and Voldemort could see each other's stuff that's going on. And I think Dumbledore at this time was pulling away from Harry in fear of Harry being in more danger for figuring out his placement in the order and stuff like that. Also, the information that he could tell Harry could get back to Voldemort.
I see.
But the idea of sending him to go kill these Horcruxes, it's almost like it's letting Voldemort know that they're doing it.
Yes.
But at the same time, giving him enough information to be able to succeed, but without having to give him all of it so that Voldemort would know.
Mm-hmm.
And if he got into the memory or actual time when when Harry and Dumbledore have a conversation, he would see that the conversation was taking place with Dumbledore.
I see.
But so the series of hints and stuff like that probably may have not even been face to face, or it could have been even through other people.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Dumbledore does this thing anyways. Regardless, even without Harry, he still kind of plans and plots quietly and gives people a little bit of information. But that is the reasoning for the Harry situation.
That makes sense. Okay, because I'm like, really? You're are we teaching long lessons here? We're on the precipice of a war.
Yeah.
He also says that he knew a lot about. That Dumbledore knew a lot more information than he was sharing with anybody. Yeah. So it's almost like he just did the worst that he could have done to help the Order succeed. He wasn't really on anybody's side. He was plotting. He was more concerned with plotting and planning than he was setting the Order up for success. And I think Snape really feels a way about that.
Yeah. Oh,
he's real irritated.
Yeah. I don't believe that Dumbledore thought, that Draco was really going to go to the great lengths that he did at that point. Because Snape even said that he got, I don't want to say cocky. He didn't say that word, but almost like he got, I'm going to use the word cocky. Because Dumbledore's a great wizard. So he may have thought, oh, nothing's going to happen or whatever. Or he's already at a point where he knows he's going to die anyway. So he became a little bit more careless and making sure that, he wasn't going to die. But still, it's Snape made it a point to say that he just didn't give a shit at that point.
Yeah.
But if that's the case, then why not give more of that information out? But he didn't.
Because you know what's going on. It's not like you're not familiar with the threat that's looming over you.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's interesting, but anyways.
There's also something Snape does say. Snape says that the reason why Lucius was probably able to track them down, Ginny, Ron, and Harry, is because he believes that Lucius may have used an old type of spell or a forbidden spell to track familial lines,
like a gene,
tracking spell. Genetic tracking spell. So that's probably how they were able to track down Ginny.
And he gives a book to Hermione to give to Moody about that.
Yeah,
and then
to help get rid of that.
Yes,
because he makes a point. He's like, I don't think they'll listen to you or me.
Yep.
On this matter. So the best thing to do is to give it to Moody.
Mm-hmm.
It's he's making a point to notice that Hermione's not actually well revered anymore.
Yep, she's one of him now.
Yep.
So then she asks Snape whether or not
this is a good one.
he knows about the punishment that was inflicted on Draco, and he's like, I do, because I had the privilege of milking Nagini for the venom.
Fucking weird.
He was told that venom was going to be used to treat Malfoy, which obviously it wasn't. She said that she's healing him and that she's using this healing time to get close to him.
To get into his heart, like really have some kind of emotional connection to him.
Yeah.
And Snape makes a great point.
Yeah. And so Snape basically says, well, before we get down to that nitty gritty, she also asks about his training and what that was like. And he said, obviously we know he was trained by Bella.
Yeah, you just say Bella.
Bella.
Yeah.
I was trained by her, and that he didn't, like, there's a reason he's like scared of being touched and things like that, because she sort of had free reign, because that was the punishment for Lucius was that he can get trained by her, and she had free reign to sort of do whatever she wanted.
And he noted that Narcissa, his mom, wasn't really around.
Yeah, she wasn't really around. She seemed to change after the imprisonment of Lucius.
Yeah, he didn't see her around, and when he did, she seemed like wound tight.
Mm-hmm. Which Hermione makes mention that it was different than what she recalled, because his mom seemed to be a little bit more loving and all that stuff earlier on when they were in school. So it was a contrast to how she remembered her mom. But Draco apparently kept coming back no matter what Bella did, and that's how he was able to really get great training, while everybody's in the Death Eater sort of revered him.
Yeah.
But then he says essentially, like, I told you to get close to him.
Hold his interest.
To hold his interest.
That's all he said, is to hold his interest. Not to get close, but to hold his interest. Yeah.
And her goal is to get close. And then so they have this back and forth fight about what that actually entails. And she's saying essentially, I can't break through his walls because he's a natural occlumens.
Yeah.
I have to do it all or nothing. There is no half-ass. There is no just simply lightly holding his interest. I literally have to make him obsessed with me. And he even says something like, the Malfoys are like dragons. They become super possessive. They're more dragon than they are wizard. Yeah. They're possessive. They're obsessive. They'll hold on to what's theirs. You don't want to be that for him. And she's like, what does it matter? What is it? I'm his before and after the war.
Yeah. And he says, well, in that case, if you manage to get close to him, you're pretty much likely to destroy the order as save it. I hope you realize by now how dangerous he is. And if you supersede whatever his current ambition is right now, because the Dark Lord can't leash him, I would advise deluding yourself. I would not advise deluding yourself into thinking you can master him. So like, she's just going to be his possession at this point. Like, that's what Snape's saying. And
she already is.
And the ruins are going to make it worse to where he's going to be super, like, attached and brutal and will do anything he can to keep what's his. And he's starting to see that she is his more. So I think what Snape is getting at is that, yes, Hermione is his, but she hasn't gotten to a point where he believes it with his heart. And I think he's making that point by saying, Lucius needed Narcissa, and look what happened. He's a fucking crazy maniac now, is pretty much is what he's making a point to.
And to that point, Hermione says, well, he's an occlumens, so I can't get into his head. I can't hold his interest that way. I have to get into his heart. And then he takes a moment. And he's like, I see that is an issue. And she's like, yeah, you see where I'm at here, that there is no choice. So if you want me to do something different, if you want this to stop, then you need to talk to Moody about it, because this is the only way. There is no other way to be successful in this.
Yeah. And so he just stares at her and he's quiet. She's like, well, if there's nothing else, I'm leaving. And so she leaves.
Yep.
And of course she goes back to the creek because she needed space to breathe. And she realizes, I just keep coming back here. This is my place.
It's her safe spot.
And she's like, at what point, though, there should be a limit. And at what point is that? Like, this is getting too much. she's just constantly being hurt on all ends, and she's just like, there's got to be a breaking point. There's got to be a point where I could fix this, but I don't see how I could fix this. And she's just crying, and she just got herself together, crammed it all in the back of her mind, because what does she got to do? She's got to go fucking take care of Ginny.
Gotta go take care of Ginny.
Yeah. So, well, no, I think right now she goes back to Grimmauld Place, but she doesn't take care of Ginny right now. So she just has to put it back in her mind so she can continue doing her normal work night.
Yes.
And then the next day she goes back and tends to Draco's wounds, but nothing crazy. She's not working on him yet.
Yeah.
I thought it was the night before, but no, I think this is the night before.
Yeah, I think so.
But she goes and tends to Draco's wounds, and he asks her how the Weasley girl's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets kind of fucking offended by this. Like, what does it matter to you?
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, your fucking father did this.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I'd hope you wouldn't consider me responsible for my father's actions. Surely I've committed sufficient sins on my own. He's right, but like, so she goes, I just don't know why you're asking. And he says, it may surprise you, Granger, but I have no particular wish to see your friends dead. And, like,
which we kind of know.
It doesn't really specifically say at this point that Draco was all in with his dad's actions. Obviously, he's helping the Order. And it doesn't seem like Lucius gives one way or fuck about anything other than revenge and retaliation.
And her friends happen to be pivotal players in the Order. So it would make sense that he wouldn't want to see them dead.
Yeah. And so Draco even tells her, like, if I would have blamed your friends as the reasons for my mother's death, I wouldn't be here. Mm-hmm. Like, I wouldn't have been asking about her. Mm-hmm. So he's making it a point to know that his dad's and his father and him have different goals. Mm-hmm.
And I think he starts to turn away from her right here, and she grabs him by the wrist. And I think she apologizes for how she reacted to the question, because obviously she was kind of a little mean about it.
She's like, I was taken aback by it.
And then he also apologized, because he's like, I'm sorry it even happened. There's no reasoning with his father's vendetta.
Yeah. And she says, thank you for your consideration or whatever. And then they just part ways. They just don't say anything. And so this is, she stays back in the shack and just thinks about all this shit. And then when when she's better, she's like constantly having to stop and reevaluate her. And I think what she's doing at this moment is like constantly pushing back emotions and feelings in the back of her head.
Yes.
So she can do her daily shit. And then after this, she just goes back to Grimmauld Place, and she notices Harry and Ginny are still, I think, in the room, and they're talking. And she's just like, I'm just going to go in another room. And this is when
she meets up with Ron.
Yeah. And it's the flashback she had with him.
He's in the war room over like the maps and stuff, and he's very upset, and she apologizes for the fact that she brought up the blade situation, and he's like, it's fine, you made the right decision, but I don't want to talk about it. And again, this is already a flashback we covered,
so we really don't need to go over it too much.
He's just upset that they're being sloppy, the Kingsley is being sloppy, and then noting that they need to keep Harry off the battlefield and looking for Horcruxes.
Yeah, that's the extent of it. And then she just apologizes again and says that he made the right choice. Because if you remember, he might be thinking right now that using the knife is what caused more necrosis in her. And she tells him, don't, you did a good job. You were supposed to do that. You saved her life. And he just, kind of nods. And then, because he says he doesn't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
So that's the end of that. If you recall the flashback, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just reliving the memory.
And then she just goes up to the dueling room. And I think she practices a little bit, but she also works out.
Yeah.
She does because he gave her a scroll of like a routine to do. And so she did it. Comes to find out that she enjoys it, that it's a good way for her to relieve her stress.
Better than sitting in a creek and crying.
At least it's more advantageous to her.
Yes.
Building up some muscle.
And now she's like, I think she goes after that. She goes downstairs and sleeps at a window chair or whatever. And she wakes up really, really sore because of her workout. Yeah. So she goes and showers, and she starts that night. She gets ready to prepare for Draco's procedure.
And as she's getting ready to prepare, who comes waltzing in? Fucking Harry Potter himself. I'm sorry. He apologizes to her, but he apologizes for like second guessing her healing or even downgrading her healing. He is not apologizing to her
specifically for treating her like shit.
Yeah, he's apologizing for doubting her healing abilities, which is not what the problem was in the first place.
No.
So she's like, okay. And then he even says,
am I a good friend to you?
Yeah. And she's like, she lies though.
Yeah, she does.
The best, always my best friend, she says. And he's like relieved to hear it. And I think he hugs her. Doesn't he hug her goodbye?
So he does hug her, and she just keeps thinking, I'm not in a position to emotionally give a shit about this right now.
Yes.
I have to go heal Draco, and this is the worst time for this. And so he comes up and hugs her, and she's trying to keep her emotions in check, but she realizes, let me have this moment. Mm-hmm. So she kind of like has a 5-second like emotional, just like, okay, hugs him. I think she kind of shakes a little bit at the idea of the embrace, and
because she still genuinely loves him, and so it's her first friend. It's her first friend. So having this connection that's been so robbed from her for a long time, I think she sinks into it a little bit,
and then she realizes, okay, that's it. She gives her enough time, enough time to deal with it, and then leaves. She leaves, and that's when she goes to the shack, and she's running. She's like 4 minutes late.
Yes, she is running late. She also grabbed some tequila, though, before she left.
She did, the shit tequila.
Yeah, and she made a point to say that she's bringing the shit cheap tequila as a punishment if he didn't listen to her, because he told him to prepare by bringing something, which I think is so funny.
I think it's hilarious. I think it's fucking great. I think at that point, too, it's like, because he's rich, he's got everything he wants. So, like, she's just like, I'm going to give him the shittiest, cheapest shit ever. And it's like, okay.
As a punishment. I told you it's going to fucking hurt. You better get fully drunk.
So she gets the shack, and he tells her that he thought that she was going to stand him up. And she's like, no, somebody wanted to talk, and I had to find an excuse to leave. Mm-hmm. And so she's sitting there taking all her stuff out of her bag, and he's like, you're a walking hospital.
Well, yeah, I'm a fucking healer. What do you expect?
So like,
I'm well prepared, if that's what you mean. Yes. So do you want an unprepared healer?
Like, that's stupid.
Why are you criticizing this?
Yeah. I think he's just giving her shit. Yeah. Like, I imagine as she's like taking everything out of her bag, he's like standing very close to her, and then just like looking over her shoulder.
This is just how he knows how to flirt, too.
Yeah, that's what it is. So I'm imagining him being a flirt, like looking over her shoulder, like making fun of her shit and just giving her shit. So she summons 2 chairs, and I think he looks at her weird or something, and she goes, I could have gotten a bed, but like, this is easier.
Yeah, for you to
move around.
Straddle it.
Yeah. I like how she says, I could summon a bed. I'm really good at that. I'm like,
what?
Come your ass.
Because we learned something here in a little bit.
Yeah.
Doesn't fit with that.
So I don't know. Right? So she summons the chairs. They think she puts the tequila in front of him, and she starts like pretty much like going to town on his fucking back. Like, starts taking everything off. As she's working on it and growing the tissue, he immediately summons the whiskey, because he's just like, well, at first he wasn't doing it.
But he held out for a little bit.
And she's like, halfway through, she realizes he can't do it no more. So he like summons the whiskey.
It's a expensive vintage fire whiskey.
Ogden something. Ogden something. Fire something.
And he like chugs a good amount of it. And then he's like...
I love this part though. I'm going to read this quote, because this part he's getting so like huffy puffy about it. And so... It says, he wrenched the cork with his teeth and guzzled it for a few seconds. Then he set it firmly beside the bottle of tequila, dropped his head down onto the back of the chair, saying, fuck, fuck, fuck.
I love that part too. Like, I don't understand what it is, but just seeing him break just a little bit of like, fuck, 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 this hurts.
And she's just like, I'm sorry. Like, she touches his shoulder, says, I'm sorry. And he's like, save it.
We're not even halfway.
We're not, And he's like, fucking hell, I always said you were a complete utter bitch. You don't have to show me. And she goes, the bitch who heals you. And he goes, apparently. And he's laughing.
So she finished, and then he gulps the last of the fire whiskey. And she says that he finishes the fire whiskey and sets it down next to another empty bottle. So this man has consumed two full bottles of fire whiskey.
And she says he balances at the tipping point of buzzed and drunk.
And he is so like
steady,
composed.
Yeah.
she says that it was terrifying how controlled he was. Like, he probably couldn't even tell he was drunk.
No, but he definitely was.
Oh, well, you drank 2 whole bottles of fire whiskey.
I mean, this dude.
They've got to be like.
I told you he had a drinking problem. Did I not?
I mean, it doesn't look like a problem to me. He's well composed.
True. You got me there.
And these bottles have got to be like a regular size whiskey bottle, right? I would think.
Yeah, I would think. I don't know. So, like, after that, he's starting to, like, get to a point where he's starting to look like he's got no signs of being drunk, because she says he's tipping point of being buzzed and not buzzed and drunk. And so now he's appearing that he's got no signs of being drunk. And he started, he asked Hermione what the fuck she brought. Because he's like, what the fuck is this? And he told her...
She tells him not to drink it.
Yeah, she's like, don't drink it. I bought that. And I think she tells him, I bought this as a punishment if you didn't listen to me.
Yeah, well, so she's like, don't drink it. It's cheap stuff I bought. And then he drinks it anyways. Yeah. And he's like, the fuck, this is varnish. Are you trying to poison me? And that's what she says. Well, it was a punishment if you didn't heed my warning to bring something.
Oh my God. This part gets
real... Gets real good.
Yeah, I just wanted to run through these outlines in these chapters so quick just to get to this part.
Yeah, I was reading it this morning like, oh my God, the butterflies.
Oh my God. Yeah, I couldn't type this outline without like...
It's crazy because I've read a lot of romance fantasy, and I can tell you 100% no other book has done what this book.
This part particularly.
This part, and maybe a couple one down the road, but yeah, this one, like I'm actually like nervous. My hands are sweaty. My heart is beating. Like no other book has affected me quite like these ones. And it starts with this scene here.
Right, this part particularly, because she starts asking him questions, and then she tells him that she doesn't drink very often because like he explains like how nasty that tequila is. And she goes, yeah, I don't drink very much. And he goes, I shouldn't be surprised. Your idea of getting drunk is drinking port and pretending to be a troll under a bridge. I absolutely love that. I couldn't stop laughing the first time I read that.
Yes. He pokes fun at her. I think he said something else too about how she only enjoys drinking do you drink anywhere else that's on a creek bed? Like the fact that he keeps poking at that.
I know.
I love it.
I love it too. And so she's putting her stuff away. She's thinking she's leaving. Okay. Yeah. I'm thinking she's leaving. I'm hoping she's not, because the Draco.
This is a drunk Draco?
Yeah,
what?
I'm in love with drunk Draco.
Yeah.
So anyways, she's trying to put her stuff away and get ready to leave. And he, I think, waved his hand and gets another fire whiskey out. And he goes, let's drink, Granger. Let's drink.
Yes, say less.
I know. So this part, like, she's trying to leave. She's trying to get ready to leave. I'm going to shorten this part real quick because I like other parts. But she's getting ready to leave, and he's like sauntering closer to her, towering over her, and she's just trying to like grab for the doorknob. It's about to head out.
She's got her back up against the door.
Yeah, and he's like getting closer and closer and
shirtless.
Closer. Oh yeah,
mind you,
very important. And she's like looking at him, getting distracted at him being shirtless repeatedly throughout this whole time. Let's just make a note of that. But
clearly checking his body fat ratio.
So like she's like trying to open the door from behind, right? And she's trying to grab the doorknob. Finally, she gets the doorknob and tries to open it. And she gets it, and she realizes she can't because his foot is in the way of the door. And what does he say to her? He goes, you should feel privileged. I hardly drink with anyone. I never get drunk around anyone. It's such a terrible idea. Occlumency, shoddy, slowed reflex, terrible idea. And also, he goes before this, though. He says, come on, Granger, the order's lonely little healer. Try drinking somewhere that isn't a creek bed.
I love that, too.
But yeah, so like...
Wait. So when he says that to her, when he says... that last thing about what did you just read?
Shoddy, like the occlumency.
The occlumency is shoddy.
Yeah,
he rests his forehead up against the top of her head.
Yeah,
in like the most sensual move
because they're right
ever.
Up against each other, like really fucking close.
So and then as if that wasn't enough, he says, "You inspire terrible decisions. Something about you, I can't understand it. What makes you so special?" And as he's saying this, he's moving back and he's looking at her. But yeah. That whole thing, pinning her up against the wall, like
and
resting
foot,
your head, your
yes,
foot
is lodged up against the door, so she's like blocking her from coming out.
Woo!
And when she notices that his foot's there blocking her from leaving, he goes, "Come on, Granger, where's your Gryffindor courage? Have a drink with me. I'll even call you Hermione." So like she's realizing right here that, and it says here that she is realizing that Draco is like putting himself out there on a silver platter.
Drunk, inhibitions
like,
lowered.
Yep.
Take me, Hermione.
Yes, like he's giving it to her. Like he's saying, "Here, take me. This is what I." He's like even admitting that she is his undoing.
Yeah, you inspire terrible decisions.
Yeah, and like his ruins are definitely not letting him hold back anymore.
No, well, they are a little bit shot with all of that whiskey.
Yeah, so like she's realizing right here that she can't say no to this because he's giving himself on a silver platter. She says
to take advantage of this,
but then she starts because he's being terrifyingly playful. I love that.
I love that too. I love that too.
And so she realized that she's not going to be able to leave. She's going to stay, and that I think she was telling him that she's not afraid of drinking with him. Grabs the bottle, takes a sip, and then she realized in that moment that it goes, one of them was on a platter. The question was merely who? Girl,
it's you. It's you.
I'm so giddy.
I know it's only getting better.
So right after she says the question is merely whom, that's the end of flashback chapter 14. And now we're getting into flashback 15. And this is them pretty much getting cozy in the shack.
This is so good.
Yeah.
So won't.
I know.
It's like I'm already getting like heated. My palms are sweaty. I am so ready for this part.
I am too. So like at this point, they're drinking more fire whiskey, and
he summons a love seat.
Yes.
And she is like, "Why did you summon you could have summoned a couch?" And he's like, "Well, I don't want to get up to pass you the whiskey every time." And she's like, "You could have summoned cups." Hermione, stop. Just sit on the love seat with the shirtless man, please. What are you doing?
Gorgeous shirtless man.
Oh my God. Who's like, you inspire bad decisions in me. Like, come on.
I want to be the one who inspires bad decisions.
Same. I would not be like, you couldn't summon a couch to keep us farther apart. Come on.
And so like she sits down first and he leans down, placing his hands on he's leaning over her, places his hand on top of the back of the couch. And then he hands her the bottle and tells her she's got a lot of catching up to do.
Yep.
All sexily. And then he goes and sits down beside her and just like leans back and just like sighs because he just realizes how it could sit back with no pain. And so he's like leaning across, like staring at her as she's drinking.
And there's an illustration coming up too, because it's great. You need a visual for this. I can't not with a visual.
This man, he's gorgeous.
Her response though to that is that so she took a small sip and she tried to give it back to him, and he was like, no.
He didn't even say anything. He just like motioned.
Yeah.
Yep. Keep going.
And she's like, well, you're gonna regret it if I start crying tonight. And he says, you don't cry that much, which is a fucking lie.
Yeah, she cries all the time.
Yeah, she's always crying.
Every time they're together. And yeah, that's when he sits back and realizes that he doesn't hurt. And so she tells him, I can continue working on your scar tissue if because you're going to need it. So she still wants to talk about healing and stuff like that. And Draco was in disbelief, asking if there's anyone she doesn't feel responsible for. It's like, girl, like just calm down.
Yeah.
So they just have this banter back and forth, and I think she grabs his hand and start like doing some more.
Well, but before that, he asks like if she has anywhere to be tonight, and she says, well, right. Everybody is out drinking, and then she starts crying. Which is just so funny because he literally just said, you don't cry that much, and here this bitch is crying again.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
He takes the bottle from her and he's like enough of that.
Yeah. Well, he told her too. He's like, I'm sorry, we could have rescheduled. And she's just, when she says again, no, drinking with them makes no sense, and I would be fighting with them anyways. And she admits to that. That's all they do is argue and fight now.
Yeah.
And so he just like looks at her and she's crying.
And then he even says, he makes a comment that I don't need, if ever you were to get captured, I would not use torture or
Clemency on her.
Or ligamuncy, whatever the fuck it's called.
Like, yeah.
I wouldn't use mind reading on you. I would just pour fire whiskey down your throat. And then he hands her the bottle again to drink.
And she's just staring at him
because he's got no shirt on. Her eyes keep like.
I think she tells him you need to put a shirt on.
Yeah, which he does not.
No, of course. Why would he? You don't need to. I don't know if I can ask him to put a shirt on. I'd be like,
I would also not ask.
Because she says something about you must be cold or something, and I think he touches her and he says, "Do I feel cold to you?"
She touches his hand because I think it's like rested here, and she's like, "You feel cold," and he's like,
"Oh," puts her hand
on his chest, on his bare chest.
I forgot. That's right. He puts her hand on his chest, and he's like, they're like both sitting there. With, oh my god, I can't.
That would have been my moment of caving.
And he said, "Do I feel cold to you?" I
don't know that I know how to speak anymore. Do I feel cold? No, you fucking.
And she says
no.
She says no, but then she realizes the moment the tension between them felt like wings of a butterfly, delicate and breathtakingly fragile.
It's a beautiful way to describe that.
Their faces were inches apart at this point, and they were staring at each other, and Hermione noticed how startlingly handsome he was. How did you not? You stared at him while you were looking at his body fat ratio.
You were looking at him for like 6 months, girl. You know he's hot. Yeah. We already know it.
So the coldness of Draco's persona is fading, obviously, and that the movement of his skin and warmth was the movement of his skin and his breath was warmth on her. I was just like, girl.
And she says that she doesn't know when she stopped becoming afraid of he says,
yeah.
Let me clear my throat for this.
Let me clear my throat.
He says, if anyone had told me that you'd become so lovely, I would never have come near you. I was rather blindsided when I saw you again. You're like a rose in a graveyard. I wonder what you could have turned into without the war.
I want to be a rose in someone's graveyard.
I want to cry. What? Draco Malfoy just said this to me?
Yes. How beautifully poetic to say you're a rose in a graveyard.
I know. And then he reaches over and touches her hair and he pulls out a curl and
he asks her if her hair is the same as it used to be or whatever, and then I can't.
And he plays with the curl, and then he says to her, "It's like it's you tied in place, but still the same underneath." Why is that so sweet?
I can't.
Where did this Draco come from?
And of course she's crying.
Yeah, she starts crying again.
And he stops and stops at her eyes wide and tells her not to cry. And then he says something really sweet, because she says something about crying all the time, and he goes, I didn't want to be the reason for you crying.
Yeah,
today.
He says it's okay. I just don't want to be the reson that you're crying tonight. Which is yo, he's hitting it back to back to back with the sweet shit.
I can't. I can't. So she looks.
No wonder she's crying.
Yeah, she looks over and his hands are callous and she's touching them, and I think she's massaging him and doing some spells on him. And he's like, Granger, she says Granger. He's like, Granger, you don't have to heal me right now. And she asks him when he learned to be ambidextrous. And
first she says to him, you look sad, and I don't think that you want to hug, so I thought you'd want to be healed instead.
And so, that's when she starts doing that. And then she asks about being ambidextrous, and he says, when did you start noticing? And then I think he says something along the lines of when...
She says that he has his wand hoisted on his right side, but he has calluses on both hands.
And he's been dueling with her on the right, but calluses on both hands. And so he says that something along the lines of I can't believe you noticed, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting. I'd like to say that you should probably take that into consideration of why he's choosing to be ambidextrous. That's important.
Yes, that is an important
And it's also important to remember about the dark mark on him and what arm that's placed on, and yada yada yada. That's all important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, make notes of those.
Yeah, this comes back later, way later.
Yeah, it'll come in. But then he does. So sorry, it's right here when she says to him, "I thought that you look sad, and I wanted to help you, but I wanted to give you a hug, but you didn't want to. I didn't think you'd want to hug, so I grabbed her hand and said." And he says, "And if I wanted something else?"
Yeah. And
she says, "What do you want?" And he says, after a moment, "Will you take your hair down? I want to see it." And she's like, "Really?" Because that's also not what I thought he was gonna say.
I thought so too. I thought he was gonna say something.
Wait, you want something else?
Yeah, like what do you want?
You take your hair down?
Want?
Okay. And then so she does. She unpins her hair because she has it like braided and pinned. So she unpins it, takes the braids out, and then there's the illustration that pops up here. And her hair is crazy. And then that she says, "There it is, my mane."
Yeah. Oh my God. And so like what he does at this point is like now he really like puts his hand in her hair and he like right next to her temple right here and he's just like swirling it in his hand and then like just saying that he didn't realize it was going to be so soft and it's softer than what it looks and Hermione's like this is beyond my comfort zone
and it's about to be real beyond her comfort zone.
Well, I mean she kind of likes it.
Well,
so she doesn't know what to say and then suddenly his face was really, really close to hers and he's sliding a hand up her neck, tangling it in the back, like where her curls are. And he wasn't looking at her now.
Nope.
At her hair. He was looking at her mouth. And he says to her,
what does he say?
He says, if you don't want me to kiss you, you should say so now.
And I just want to like pass out. Like I'm done. That's all I needed from
And the funny thing is they've kissed so many other times.
Yes.
But this is the part where it's just like I have to.
But those were power plays. I have to hold my earrings.
Because they're like going around all crazy because I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Yes, the other kisses were power plays, and this one,
oh my God,
this is a real intimate kiss. So yes. He asks her that wonderful question. And she doesn't reply.
She kisses him. She goes in for it. She goes in.
Finally. Finally, this girl's making some moves.
Yeah, real moves. Not like like this isn't no who's gonna go with who's gonna do what. This is like real emotion.
She kind of gave in to her own wants. Yes. And she says that the taste of fireworks whiskey was on each of their lips. As soon as her mouth touched his, Draco took control, as though she'd sprung something loose in him. His hand and her hair tightened, and he drew her towards him, pulling her onto his lap. Wow. Speechless.
I think I just went to church right now. Hallelujah.
I just went to church. Praise Manacled. Praise this book. Yo, this is it. Like, this is.
Amen. I'm not religious. Let's put it out there. But this makes me pray all sorts of things.
I'm all over Manacled. I'll be swearing, crossing. What do you need me to do? I'm here.
And then when he's got her on his lap, he's like, his hands are just going all over the place.
They are making out.
Yeah. And they're making out hard. His hands are going everywhere. And she says it's like as if his hands were taking measurements of her. Ooh, wee.
Yeah, he's hungry for her.
Yeah. Ooh.
And she was even saying that. So and she says the great line too, that he tasted like ice and fire whiskey and sin. And she also ran her hands all over him, feeling him, giving into that need that they both had.
Hard and pale as marble, but warm. That was the description she gave as she's like running down to. Okay, I'm not into the pale kind of guys, but like feeling Draco's. I'm feeling Draco's like ambiance. He's got an ambiance.
He's got that vibe.
Yes.
It's funny because he's also the opposite of everything. Like blonde, because he's got blonde and light skin.
His hair is almost white.
It's all. Yeah. It's the exact opposite of what I normally would go for. But yes,
I'm loving it.
Also he starts kissing her neck and her jaw. She clung to him, and she meant it. She says, Hermione took his face in her hands and brought his mouth back to hers. She wrapped her legs around him. She even notes that she kissed Draco more fiercely, and he met her with equal fire.
Yes.
They really needed this. But then, like, typical Hermione fashion, she starts fucking overthinking in the middle of being made out with.
Okay, not only are they making out, let's just put this out there, like, during this time, he is, like, picking up her shirt, moving her bra around. He's going all over. He's kissing everywhere on her, except, like, down there. But, like, he's, like, really get into it with her at this point.
She even thinks, too, that she's never had sex. Like, this is her first time, which is funny that she would make a joke about conjuring a bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess maybe she meant that more of like a healer. Like, I heal it all the time. But it came off
like
another
it's coming
way.
off like very sexual. So like, yeah, she's like, now she's like, as he's like really getting into it, groping her, feeling her, they're kissing each other, all sorts. They're like grinding up on each other and everything. And now she's thinking, I haven't had sex with anybody before, and I don't think he even really wants me. And now those things are getting in her head where she's like, this could be anybody. I could be anyone. He's just lonely.
Not me.
It's not me he wants. And so she's starting to fight back tears again. Girl,
I know.
You're ruining it with your crying.
I mean, that would hurt me as well, thinking those thoughts. But like, what are you? Is he not doing it enough? Why are you thinking?
I don't think I give a shit.
But the problem is that the problem is that she's going in this for love. She's trying to get him for love, and like him just the thought of him like he would fuck anybody is killing that for her. So I get that from her point of view, but also like, why is this happening while you're making out with him?
That's what I'm saying.
Think about this after.
Exactly.
And then later be like,
you want have remorse after.
Have remorse after.
Like,
be sad after.
Yeah, fuck, man, not during the good parts. Like, and that's the thing. Even if it was, you already told yourself you did not want to make this something real anyways. Let your moment be real.
And you said you were the one in control. You were the manipulating one. And then here you are sobbing and crying because you think he don't love you.
That's what I'm saying. Like, let this be, even if she was using him at this point, like, you're using him too. So just fucking do it. I'm gonna have a fucking meltdown. Like, obviously emotions are tied. And the crazy thing is, what bothers me is why she picks and chooses words she wants to believe at this moment. Because right before this, well, his like, he even said, my walls are down, everything is down, I'm saying the truth right now. Mm-hmm. He tells her she is undoing, like, she's lovely. Like, what about all those fucking words? Do they not matter?
No.
You're a fucking rose in a graveyard. Like,
she's a typical girl overthinking
the wrong shit. I'd be overthinking the other things. I'd be overthinking. He says, I'm lovely.
He said, I'm lovely. Take my shirt off.
I would be overthinking.
I'm a rose in a graveyard. Take my pants off. Right. Yeah, I don't think I would be thinking about it.
I would be like, he said those other things because he felt this way about me.
Because he likes me.
Yeah, I am the total opposite.
But it's weird because she was even saying this shit when he went to the shack to see her, even though he was hurt. Like,
I don't know.
She was all high on her horse then, like, oh, he came for me when he didn't have to. And now
arms are in the air because she's ridiculous.
She is ridiculous.
So yeah, because of that, Draco starts to realize that she's doing this.
That she's fighting tears.
Yeah, and so he realizes, and he like straightens her clothes up, puts her back to normal, and then takes her off of him and says, I think you should go home now.
Yeah, she says that he gave her a bitter, angry smile.
I think it was
I
don't think it was a bitter.
He smiled bitterly.
Yeah, like,
so not angry, but he was bitter.
Yeah.
And then that mask slid right back into place.
And that's when he said, I think you should go home now.
You should go. And then that's where we're going to end.
Motherfucker, man.
Shit.
Sorry, guys, but that's where we're ending this episode on. Like, I unfortunately did not want to write this outline at the end like this because I'm so mad at Hermione right now.
Yeah, well, it's a good place to end.
It is a good place to end, but
because it's where they ended.
But it's not a good place for my heart.
No, yeah. For a lot of other plot parts, it's not a good place to end.
100% correct.
Screw them both. God damn it.
Well, obviously they're not gonna screw each other.
Well, yeah. Fucking Hermione. She's doing it every time. Well, I can't handle her.
I know.
And it only gets worse. I'm just gonna forewarn you that it only gets worse.
Yes. Well, now we have to apologize right here that we have to end this episode on this note.
Yeah, it's depressing. We gave you a high just to come crashing down with us.
Sorry.
Sorry, but we'll be here next week like we always are. Well, sometimes we're a little late, but normally
we try.
We do try. We'll be here next week, hopefully same time, and we're on all the socials if you want to keep up with us. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook,
Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music,
all of them.
Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe, and definitely comment.
We like hearing your guys' thoughts.
Even if it's a complaint about the weather.
I know, yeah, we love it. We love it all. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.